Thanks for tuning in to Community Code Review, the Datum Dons, presented by Gimbalabs, where we explore Aiken Validator code together, line by line, question by question. I am the Don. My name is Lewis. My name is Newman. And Lewis, Harsha, and CodeCow are my capos. Let's get into it. What we are looking at today is the vesting contract. It's an AK file, it's an Aiken file, and they start with a certain start with a certain thing. They have a structure. I'm hoping that you're all familiar. I know that my capos are all familiar. And my intention is to just walk through it and we'll start discussing. They have like a hello world and some other ones. And this is part of it's like they integrate it with mesh, but the first part is all the Aiken code. So and and they start off with the normal stuff. That anyway, that's why I wanted to do it. But basically, and here's another thing about and going through Aiken code or validator code, which we've established is all it does is return a Boolean uh, variable. What is a it's a Boolean? It's
It
not an
just returns a
expression.
bool,
It just returns a bool. But what is a bool? It's
true
a
or false
data type.
statement.
It's a data type.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a data type. It just returns a bool data type. So it just returns the value of true or false. And and so and we use this to build interaction. So it's important to understand what the interaction is. And so the interaction of a vesting contract is somebody, and in this contract, it's called the owner. Um, and they lock funds, they lock ADA. It's interesting. Where is the as I say this out loud, what is the value? But anyway, they lock something in a transaction in
No, they can
a
only
no,
lock
they block
something
it
at an
they
address.
at an address, and that is the validator address. So when we do Aiken build, this creates an address, and we parameterize it so that there's information in there to that we can interact with. Anyway, but what I meant to say is that there's a few bits of data, and you can actually see it in this vesting datum, uh, which is a type, sometimes like an interface. But that's locked. There's a lock until. There's a time thing, and Harsha and I wrestled with POSIX with our Aiken Asteria project. So it might be interesting to get into this. The other two are the owner, which is verification key hash, and that's um, the secret key or the like an address. Um, and there's some stuff about that in the docs. And then the beneficiary. Beneficiary is somebody that can um, withdraw the funds from the contract, the funds that are locked in the contract. But it's interesting. That's my first question is how do we get to the contract? But we're hiking through. So anyway, that's the general. So basically, when I do a like a review, what does this do in English? It locks some funds. An owner locks some funds, and then they set a lock until time and they set a beneficiary time. And so there's some questions that I already just saying it in English. There's some questions that I have, and we'll figure that out. So the next thing is um, let's hike through the whole
What
doc.
is Newman? What is vesting? What's the 10-second elevator pitch of vesting? Not this contract, but the
But
definition
yeah,
of vesting.
okay. So it's a banking term. What is vesting? Like vesting is a banking term. It seems like it's
No, I think you
also,
got it right the first time. It is basically
Yeah,
locking values for a specific period of time.
yeah, yeah.
but and also for a specific person though, right? Or is it just in general?
Yeah,
Uh,
can I have
yeah, go ahead,
a go
Lewis.
at it?
Yeah,
So I think vesting in my definition, I'm thinking of this in terms of shares, right? So for example, we're all forming a company and we're all new to it. So for us to like get the full shares divided equally, let's say everyone gets 25%. So instead of getting 25%, immediately you get the shares every year as you proceed. So for example, each year you get 5%, 5%. This is such a way to prevent people getting 25% immediately. And then down the line, they just leave. Amma? Sorry, or yeah. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah. Let's see
makes
what it
sense.
says.
vesting refers to the process by which an employee earns the right to receive certain benefits, such as retirement funds or stock options, from their employer.
Right.
Essentially, it's a way for companies to reward long term commitment by granting ownership of these benefits over time, often through a specific schedule. Yeah, so basically, benefits
So
over a
our
specific schedule.
contract has the time, which makes sense, right? That's the way we know how much time has elapsed. And then we have two verification key hashes. So my guess is one would be the employee that's getting paid, and one would be the employer who has
Correct.
paid,
Who has put the funds in there in the first place, I would think.
who has put the funds there that has locked them initially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And so what my big point here is if you don't understand what it does in English, it's going to be difficult, or it may be more difficult to
I think
understand it
no,
in
I
English.
think if
So,
we understand what this is doing, we'll understand vesting better.
yeah. Yeah, that's like I guess that's also a good point. We'll definitely understand it in a different way and better because we'll be able to set up, like this is how vesting activities are done. And one of the things about blockchain, meaning that how would you do it in a normal situation? Your employer just puts it in the bank and says, okay, next year I'll let you take out 5%. But what stops them from agree, it's just you have to trust them to do that. But if it's in a contract, contracts are going to be there. It just does it because you've locked the ADA, you've locked the value in a robot, in a piece of code that it will operate as long as the chain is operating, it's going to operate. So there you go. There's that. Hmm. All right. So um, one of the things that I really like doing when I just do when I'm doing code review or trying to read some code is I like to look at the big blocks of stuff. Like here, I know there are these use statements. I know these are the import statements. Um, there's some from Aiken. There's some from Cardano. There's some from Cocktail and Mocktail, which are I know what those are. Um, Here is the data type, vesting datum. That makes sense to me. They've got a comment that lock until is an int. Um,
In
I've sometimes seen
milliseconds.
this. Yeah, I've sometimes seen this as like a big int and like
Yeah, one it
other
gets
stuff.
stored
But
on chain as a big int. Like if you do an int here on chain, it actually goes to a big int. Is that what you're talking
there
about?
you go. I guess so. Yeah, I don't know where I saw it. It had the N. It was like there was like an N below it or something, and I think
Yep.
that signified. Yeah. Okay, lock until. And based on what I know about vesting, I know that there is a time element. And so there you go. It makes sense. And lock until is a pretty good uh, variable name
Yeah.
or type name in this, whatever the case may
Field,
be.
field. So
Uh,
this is the type and these are the fields.
And our
yeah.
constructor would be vesting
Okay.
datum, but we're using the shorthand.
Yeah.
Right, right. And we went over that last time. So like, yeah, yeah. So vesting datum, lock until, a field, int, a data type. Okay, here we go. The next one, uh, the owner, and a verification key hash. Now, I know what a verification key hash is, but I don't necessarily have to explain it now.
It's
Owner
just a
and
byte array.
beneficiary. Okay. Yeah. There we
Yeah,
go.
I mean, if you want to quickly take a look, I can.
Yeah, so byte arrays are interesting because if we go
No,
back
it's
and
a
look at
hash.
that
Yeah.
language tour,
A
yeah,
hash is
it's
a
not.
byte array.
Yeah.
Okay. Hash.
Hash is nothing more than a byte array.
Byte array. Okay. So we've got two of the same thing, the owner and the beneficiary, and based on what I know about a vesting contract, those are the things that I would expect to see. So nothing surprising there. Okay, so then we have this. Any comments from my capos?
No, I love it.
No,
No,
nothing from my
so
end.
one small clarification is in general, whenever I see the name owner, I always think of the guy who owns the contract, who wrote the contract.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it is the opinion of whoever wrote this, though, because they could do something else with that. But yeah, I would hope that as well.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good definitely because it could be anything, but yeah, in our mind, the owner would be the person that wrote the contract that, and in this case, can dissolve the contract, meaning that they can, and we'll get to that when we get to the validator stuff. But anyway,
Yeah.
Here is the validator keyword, and we've given it a name, vesting. All right, so I know sort of what that is. I know that then we have a spend. That's the purpose or the script purpose, such that if we're going to call this, you do something like vesting dot spend, and then give the params. And these are the params that you're going to give. And this could be named whatever. And this datum opt is a so it was a standard sort of thing. The redeemer input and transaction, that's all things. Now, this is sort of the guts of it, and we've talked quite a bit about this very common phrase on line 27. Now, this and I'm going to spend a bit of time on that because I went in because remember last week or the week before, we're like, oh, this is Henson style. And it's like, oh yeah, this is James style. Like everybody has a style, they have a preferred way of discussing things. I went in, I was like, oh, this is just a different way. It's all basically just a way of doing logic, or there's a few different, like in mathematics, it's called something, but it's just Boolean logic, and ors, and ors, in a series. And so this is all the success criteria, and this is the fail criteria. This is just a big if else statement, and etc. I'm going to skip through that just because I want to get the whole thing.
So I mean, this is basically the core logic, right? And
Yes.
this is actually quite confusing to me. And part.
I can explain it. I can explain it
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
let's go in because I don't understand it either. I don't understand how we go from the expect some datum line immediately to the or.
Interesting. Okay. Well, but before we do that, I just want to scroll down. I just want to see what we're all doing. Just so and it's basically it's like this.
Your test is called success unlocking.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So if you want to just do Aiken check success unlocking, you could just get the isolated test.
Let's set that up. Yeah. Aiken check -m.
Success.
What's it?
_ unlocking.
Okay, perfect. One of the things, just as an aside, one of the things that I've been doing is because basically it checks for anything in this validator folder. Am I on? So I'm on my own fork of this. So what I've been doing, and this is, you guys don't have to do this, but what I do is I do a validators validators not now, not yet. And I drag this up here, put it
Yeah,
in the
I've
main
done something
thing.
similar too before, just to get it out of the test, but still in the code
Yeah,
base.
yeah, exactly. So this is what, so I just take all of this and drag it in here. So now all of these are in here. Now I take the one that I want and I drag it in here. And now when I do Aiken check, it should just be that one file.
Yep.
Hello. And okay, so all that's good. Let's close down that for the moment and let's close down this for the moment. Okay. So testing stuff. And this was not, these tests are pretty in depth because of this all of these new types test case, which makes a lot of sense. And to me, as I went through it last night, um, here is a function that builds a test case using this test case datum. Um, and I'll close that down for the moment, close this down for the moment. Okay, now here is our test, the test keyword. This is the thing that builds, lets you add a bunch of variables. You know, it uses that datum custom data type, and then this it calls the validator. Okay, we have hiked through the whole thing, so that's all that's there. And now we could, I'm 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 thinking that we're going to create more tests. You know, more tests down here.
I mean, all the test cases are covered in the test case type, I think.
So yeah, so like when we call this, like when we do a test, we could change this to like false
Yeah.
and do another and run the test, and we could do all this sort of stuff, which is cool, which is
Yeah.
definitely cool. All right, so and it's this, they have spent a lot of, so for instance, in the Aiken PBL and Gimbalabs, um, you know, they start off with tests. Like testing is such a big and important part of it. Do we do any traces in here? So we don't do any traces. So I definitely want to like flex the trace muscles. Traces are
I
great.
I I just want to first understand the logic of the validator and then jump into things.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that when we get there, we've hiked through now. Now this is all normal stuff. We can, you know, like for instance, I think we're going to look at this validity range. That's why I staged this here. Um, let's look at uh, let's look at the validator now. So we know this is a spend validator, and I'm looking at okay, well, when I first go through this, I look at these little guys. That means that it is optional to this spend purpose or script purpose.
Almost, but not accurate. But you're right there. You got
Okay.
it.
Okay, but yeah, feel free to jump in.
So it's still required in the function, but when you're inside of the validator, you don't care about it, right?
That
So you're never
means
going to use the redeemer. So you use the underscore to say, I don't care what this is. But the function the redeemer still has to be passed. Like it's still required. You're just not using it.
yeah.
So check this out. Let's test it. Let's come and see, as you know, people smarty pants say. What if I take it? What if I take that little bit out and run Aiken check?
Nice.
What's it going to do? Don't look.
It's gonna warn you.
Ah, damn it. I wanted you to find, I wanted you to guess. I wanted you to guess what it would be. It says it's an unused identifier. No big deal, but you might want to remove it or use a discard. Ooh, so this is the discard. See, we're learning some words.
Yeah, that's the
Um,
right term. That makes sense.
yeah. So to get rid of it, you should also know, unlike in typical imperative languages, unused let bindings are fully ignored in Aiken. They will not produce any side effects, such as an error call, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Use expect with a discard instead of let. Ooh,
You're doing
interesting.
side effects.
So you could do something like this. Basically, it's saying do something like this, expect underscore redeemer. Anyway, yeah, that leads us down a little trail. But anyway, let's go. So we know we get some inputs, and I know that because of these discard characters, like this datum underscore opt, which is an option, which means it's going to give some or none. Thank you, Harsha, of this vesting datum type, which we know is up here. So we know that we're going to have something that says datum underscore opt dot lock until dot owner dot beneficiary. And am I making myself? Oh,
Yeah.
well, so we take this, and in order to check, I guess in order to check it, I just don't know why they don't just say, why is this datum opt and this datum? Why don't they just say datum opt here?
They
And it's
could.
just they give it another name. That's my
So,
question
so
to
the
you, the
reason
Kepos.
they don't say, I mean, this is my understanding. The reason they don't say datum opt is datum opt is the datum which is wrapped inside the option. So it is wrapped inside the sum. So here they are
Okay.
saying we are using the datum and we are getting it out of the sum part of it. So we can directly use the datum.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's no longer optional because we've
Correct.
destructured it from the sum.
I
Otherwise,
got you.
expect would be like that would fail, right? If that was none, then the expect part would fail and the validator would turn false.
Okay.
So at the
Yeah.
point that we destructure the datum, it is no longer optional. It is real datum, and we have destructured it from the option value.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That actually sounds plausible. I mean, you're going from this, we don't know, is it there? Is it not there? To because of this expect and sum, we know that this is datum. And then
Yeah.
it will validate and break uh early, and that's why I think a lot of it do it because of the whole like
Yeah.
economy and
Yeah.
the mem units and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it is none, it breaks on the first step itself.
So now, ha ha ha,
Yeah. Now it's the
we get
meat.
to
What the hell
now we
is
get
this
down to the
for?
meat. Okay, so this is what I researched last night. And so it says all of the conditions, and so an and or. Now we could use like the when is, and there's a couple of different ways to do this.
Yeah, yeah.
We
I
should.
think we can
Okay.
do key signed two parallel lines, which is or, and key signed extra signatories and validator after, like in one line, But this is
Yeah.
also a
Yes.
good one, yeah.
Let's see how many
So
different ways we could write this then.
exactly.
But I kind of want to go. I want to go deep into this one first,
Yes.
and try to
Okay.
understand what this why because it's just a weird syntax to put or when like nothing comes before. You know, what I mean, you would never say that in English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so here it is in the and this is the quick language tour. So and these are all in the flow control um, section. And so you could do this when is
Yeah, that's the one that
this
I've used mostly. Is the when is
right, right.
nice.
And so, but here's this one that we're working with. And you could do, like, sometimes at the end of these, it'll say here, it'll say like key sign. It'll basically take these, and this I think
So
is what Harsha was
so
saying is
in
like
this case, I don't think you need to do that because this is an unassigned variable, right? This OR block, this big OR block gives out a bool and it is unassigned to anything. So this is the final statement.
right. So I don't know.
So
Hold on.
or returns a bool.
Yes.
So or is wrapping the or logic.
Yes.
It's saying, okay, so the way to read that would be key signed or key signed and valid after. Wait, right?
So
Like, is that how
OR,
you would read it?
so this is OR, that means whatever blocks are inside the OR are like the optional ones. One of them has to be true.
One of them
So
has to be true, and we have two of those. We have key
yes,
signed
correct.
as one of those options, and then we have another option which is itself an and.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, I can
Yes.
kind of see it now. Now I understand. That is kind of clean also.
Yep. Yep.
And it's because of this comma. So it basically it's as if we did this this guy. We tabbed up over. You did some craziness like this, you know?
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's yeah. Anyway. But in English, this says, and they actually have this down in our, in the vesting. Remember we talk about, oh, there's a road right there. Well, they actually have a road for us in the not in the language tour, but down in the vesting contract. They have this right here where they're going. Yeah, anyway, it's down in this sort of spot. Unfortunately, can't muster the brain power to like switch over there, but let's talk it through.
Oh, it's so close. Okay, that's fine.
Um,
I think I can read it by understanding that or is wrapping its logic.
Yes.
Right.
so
Exactly.
it's
And you could have different ones. But yeah, I guess in English I wanted some word to come before or, so I could read it, and I wasn't looking at it as like wrapping an option, or an object, right? And it's any of the key values. So like I would guess it's the first one that would be true. So like let's say you had a list of 10 different ors. The order of them that you put would probably matter, because if the first one tripped, if the first one was true, then all of the
yeah,
other ones beneath it would never even run or care about. Um, right? Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
because it's or.
Oh,
Yeah,
So
okay.
it just makes it like a smoother syntax because you don't have to say or multiple times. If you're wrapping it in or, you just put commas between all the things that
you
you
just need one of.
yes, you just need one or.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
let's.
a powerful.
I'm gonna do this. Check this out. Um, I'm gonna. I'm just because sometimes for me, like the key sign dot extra underscore all that stuff, a little bit confusing. I know it's weird, but it's just my eye doesn't like it. So what I'm going to do, and this might break some stuff, but I'm just going to do this and just let's just so we I'm just going to say or, and I'm going to say, hey, this is true.
You could assign that to a variable,
Yeah.
Oh,
and then you could just then the or statement is reading the variables. So I would do, yeah, why don't you do that, Newman? Is that
let's
how you
try
want
it.
to
Let's
read
try
it?
it. Well, yeah, I just want to say like, okay, this is true. Like if we just and this is I guess this is going down into the test cases. So it's just like this is true and this is true and this is false. right?
Uh, mm,
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
so
That's not
it's
helpful.
better to assign them to variables. Say A is key signed transaction extra signatories datum owner, B is key signed transaction extra signatories beneficiary, and C is valid after. Then in
Yeah,
your
it's a
OR block, it'll be C and B comma C.
Yeah.
right. Well, let's do it. Let
I almost like this pattern better than when is. I mean, maybe they're different. Maybe they need to be at different times.
Yeah,
And
but
so
so
like I don't
both
know if
these
uh,
things.
when is a replacement for this.
You're saying it is a replacement or they're used at different times?
They're used at different times, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. That's what I guess. But I guess I'm thinking of some Aiken that I've written, and I could see how I could have used this or statement, but instead I used when is.
Oh, I see.
okay. Let's see. Did I? Because I had this conversation with. Shit, I can't find it now. Maybe it was in. Oh, let's see. I had this all. They talked about. I can't find it. It must have been a different one. I had this conversation with GBT last night, and it was pretty exciting. Because they talked about when to use these different, um, use the and or, the when is, and the other sort of logic bots. And you remember, sometimes at the end of this block, they would have like it was like a final check where they would do he signed and this and that or that. You could just do it all there. And I don't understand like they don't do it here, but there is this where they do all the logic gates and then at the end they do it again.
Yeah.
I might bring that up.
Or my guess is you really only need one of them, and they're just different ways to write the same thing. Like Harsha said, because we're not assigning this or to anything, it is the final validation. But you could
Yeah.
remove that whole or block and write this in, a more like, is
Pedantic.
key signed and like the double ampersands,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like this. I like this format. To me, that's the cleanest way. That's cleaner than the other couple ways we've discussed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me it does because did you guys take like a coding logic uh it's like arithmetic, logical arithmetic, I think.
No.
It's a thing. Um
I don't know. I've been coding for a while though, so I've run into enough problems. Right?
yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, let's see. Like it's logical arithmetic. Logical arithmetic. Arithmetic. Yeah, this guy. See if we can. Boolean algebra. That's what it's called. And it's like crazy old school. Like I think the Greeks were doing Boolean algebra. Certainly Ada and Babbage and all that stuff. Like yeah, this stuff. I had a coding instructor that we were trying to learn like Dreamweaver, and he sat us all down and made us do this shit for weeks. And he's like, "Nope, you got to know this." Like, you son of a bitch. Okay. Um, but that is this, and these validators are straight up that because, um, or what this means to me in English is if the key signed or means at least one of the conditions. So if the key signs is true, then it doesn't matter because one of the conditions are met. This is going to succeed. And we can test this down here in our tests. So I wouldn't mind playing around with those now because I think we're at the point where we understand this. And Lewis, I'm going to bring you in for a second. Do you get this? Are you like, oh yeah, I'm tracking, or is there any question? As a Don, I have this ability to call you over to the conversation.
Are you asking in terms of the or statement? And
Yeah, well, or do you understand, like, based on what we know about the vesting contract and based on like this little block of or and super teeny, I'm gonna get this out of the way because we're not gonna do
not
that.
doing that.
Um, but I mean, I'm saying, do you understand it enough to go to move on to testing it and sort of playing with it?
So let me see if I get it, yeah. So we're
Sure.
looking at the validator's logic, right? So the codes, if you can scroll up a bit, I want to go from, yeah. So the owner is an owner. So we're checking if the
Yeah.
owner can, I mean, that's the logic here is the owner can spend any time, or rather can withdraw the funds anytime,
Correct.
or,
Well,
Correct.
oh, that's actually a good point. Yeah, exactly. There's
or,
no
okay.
there's no logic around time for this
Mhm,
part. For the owner, there's no logic around time. That's good. Okay.
mhm. And yeah, yeah, and then the or else, the or else.
Oh, so this else down here. Oh, okay. This is basically if anything else comes through, if
No, the else
any other
fail
stuff.
is for the script purpose. If any other script purpose outside of spend comes in, it fails.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Good call, Harsha. So it has to be, so if it's vesting, if there's let's go down and look at our tests really quick. And we could test this. If we do a test, um, hey, do you mind if we do that as our first test, first
The
extra
or
test?
else.
Yeah, we're
Go
gonna test that or else. I'm the Don, I'm doing it. Test the else part. And it's going to be a super easy test because we're just going to change this to mint. What do you think it's going to do?
So it'll
We need to give
definitely
it a
fail
different,
because Mint doesn't take these parameters. Mint
right.
takes
So, but
different parameters.
how will it fail?
It won't even go through.
It won't build.
Yeah, it won't. I can check would not go through. It'll give you errors.
Yeah, didn't compile because it hit this else. Interesting.
So it didn't
Interesting.
even get to the parameters. It like immediately
No,
failed at Mint.
it didn't. Well, it failed in the compiling. It didn't even compile,
So it is
right?
saying the else fail has been activated because Mint has been called.
Is
Right.
it? I think it's saying there's a formatting problem because I found an unexpected token else. I
Yeah.
think there's something wrong in the contract, some typo that you made before. We're not even getting to that
Oh,
test.
No,
oh, that's
I
true.
don't think it's a
Well,
formatting thing.
wait
So
a minute.
change
Wait,
it to change the Mint
easy.
to spend again.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Just
Or
change
just
the Mint
comment
to
that
spend
out.
again.
Yeah.
It'll pass again now.
I
Now
don't think
now
it's
try
going
it.
to. Okay, here
I
we
think
go.
it'll
Now
pass.
the capos are around the friggin' dominoes table and we're putting bets. What do you think is going to happen?
It'll
I don't
pass
think
now.
it's going to, I kind of think Code Cow's right.
I
I
think
don't,
we're
I
let's
think
see,
there's
let's
a
see.
syntax error. It's a syntax
Ah,
error.
fuck.
Oh, ha. Fuck yeah, man. So it's probably in some of this
Oh, the
BS that I pulled.
extra bracket.
It's an extra bracket in here, and it's probably this mother. Let's try it now. Oh shit. Okay. Okay, now let's go back And we're going to change this to mint. What do you think is going to happen now?
Now Harsh is right.
Now I think the parameter, yeah, I don't know. Maybe the parameters will come into play, but we'll see.
Let's do it.
Yep.
Unknown. Okay. So it compiled. Trying to make sense of it. I could not
Notice
find
how
an
it failed
appropriate.
on the test line 98, not inside the validator.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's what Harsh has said. Mint doesn't take those parameters.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I think this is what it said.
Yeah. Love it. Okay.
Or actually, no. Read what it's saying. It's saying, while trying to make sense of your code, I cannot find an appropriate handler in the validator definition. So
I
it
think it
is
is.
not failing at the parameters. It's saying that the validator doesn't have mint, right?
So it is failing at else fail
Yes.
because it's specifically saying, hey, it should either be spend or it'll go to else. And since it is not spend, it is going to else at the last line.
So yeah, it's not because we're passing these parameters to mint. It's because we're using mint on a validator that doesn't have that spending purpose, that purpose.
Yes.
It's interesting that it fails in that way. What if let's start. This is the other one that I want to do, and that is trace. Hit the else,
Isn't
and
trace
fails.
like capital T? Or maybe I don't know. I can't remember.
No, we don't have to remember because we've got bing, bang, boom. This
We could do a true there as
trace.
well.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So a true, huh?
Right? If we did else true, and then that mint should not fail at this same line because
No, then
or
it'll pass no matter what you put there, what purpose you put there,
it
it
will
should
just
pass.
pass. Yeah. Okay. You're right. That
Let's do it.
would
Let's do
not
it.
change something.
Let's do it. Let's see what do you think is going to happen? I think it's
It's
going to
gonna
hit this.
pass. Yeah. It's gonna hit the else. We'll get the trace, and it will be a green success.
Well, but check this out. This is also going to succeed unless we change some shiz down here. Let's make this.
No,
But it's mint.
don't even change those because I feel like we won't be touching those anyway in this test.
Yeah, because it's mint. It's
Yeah.
not gonna go into the spend.
You're right. I think you are correct. So let's do this. Let's clear this for our homies. Let's do bang, bang, this. And let's see.
Why is it
It
failing
did.
now? I could not find now.
Because mint is not a purpose. It needs spend or else.
Yeah.
So
And
but why that's true. Why is that?
So
oh,
is else a purpose at this point? Else mint. No, that's a
that's a good
parameter.
idea.
No, but
Yeah,
that
I
mint
don't
is
know
a
if that would work.
but mint is a parameter. So I mean mint is not a parameter, it's a
oh,
purpose.
Yeah, okay. Um
oh, that would be wild.
Can you try this instead of mint? Can you put vesting dot else? I want to see what happens.
Vesting.
No,
Actually,
not there,
that
not
makes
there.
sense.
In the tests, in the tests.
Yeah.
It might work.
Else.
And you don't even have to give the parameters to it.
This is fun. This is what I wanted to get to today,
yeah,
dudes.
this is good.
Okay. Do this. And now what do you think is going to happen?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
Just
me
run
too.
We're just breaking stuff. Trying to make it. Validators require at least
Not
two
enough
arguments.
You need
arguments.
the underscore. You need the discard in the else statement in the validator. Else underscore.
Oh,
Oh, I see.
right.
Okay, not
Ah,
Java.
banana.
No, yeah.
No, no, no. I think you're right.
And it should be true.
Missing fields.
Okay, we need to pass something in there because now we use the underscore. Maybe just
Can,
pass it something.
Okay. Let's
I
just
saw 0
grab.
fields in a content. Go down to the test
Oh, right.
and just pass it something in there. Give it, it doesn't matter, but just give it one thing, the TX or something.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, give it that.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, we got something.
Oh,
No
yeah,
big
yeah,
deal.
no,
yeah.
it says 2 checks, so that means it passed, right? 2
It
checks.
passed. Yeah.
No big deal.
Just,
So
just, just
what
because
just
these.
happened? Those are doing nothing. All we're
Yeah,
doing
they're
is
just
vesting
unused,
else.
unused. You can literally like everything inside that second test, you can comment them out,
Yeah,
except
Yeah.
for
do
the
that.
vesting.else transaction.
Yeah, and
Except for
instead
the
of
last one, except for the last transaction, I
yeah,
think
just
you
pass
can.
it a string. Who cares? Because they're not doing anything. It
Yeah,
just needs something.
yeah.
Comment that out, and then
Just put two of those string things inside that. Yeah, make it a string. Yeah.
Hmm, see what we do. Ha ha ha! It works. Yeah,
hit the
look, and then
else.
our
Yep.
trace worked. Oh,
Okay,
and
so
passing.
what the hell happened?
So this would be the equivalent of just somebody's calling this contract, and anybody can call this contract. Now, this may be out of the scope of our Datum Don's sort of experiment, but I would love to create, uh, whether it's with mesh or with the command line, putting this on chain pre-prod and calling this and sending this. Basically, trying to mess with Sasquatch. Just try to poke this validator when it's live and out there.
So what I
But we
heard
get
from you is that like we have all these functions like spend and mint and like these things
yeah,
that are used for actions, and then we have this
yeah,
catch-all that is from up until this point from my world has only been used to like as the discard to return
yeah,
false. Okay, and now we've
yeah,
discovered that like this is a whole nother endpoint. We can call this. We can
yeah,
call else. And we don't know really how to fail and call else, right? Like we tried to do um, vesting.mint, which I would have thought would have triggered the else, but it
yeah.
didn't. It didn't
No.
even get to that point. Okay, so how does else get triggered? And what does this now mean to us that we have this additional purpose of else? Like, can we do something creative with it? Is this a
Right.
vulnerability
Right.
for some people? Or is
Yep.
right? Like, just what is it? What can we do with it?
Yep. Yep.
I
Oh,
mean,
I love
I
it. I
feel
love
like
it.
we can, I mean, this is just a guess, but I feel like we can use the else. Say, for example, there are three purposes. Say or two purposes, spend and mint, right? If those two purposes don't go through, we can have an else statement with a string in it, which passes. And then after that, we can have another else as well. I think you can have multiple else's. That's what I'm thinking.
Multiple.
Multiple. Oh.
Yeah. So for example, you have like the else in the. Oh, so maybe there is only one
Hold on.
time. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. What do the docs say about
Mm,
else?
let's see. Flow control, piping. Hold on. Looping. See, these functions are actually interesting, and they use. Here we go.
No,
If
this is if else.
yeah.
Yeah. This is not the purpose, the spending purpose of else.
Right. So it's going to be down in here.
Yeah. Look, oh wait. Yeah, right there. Right, it doesn't say else for a purpose.
Yeah. Hmm.
But we could call it like one.
Interesting. Doesn't actually else. Okay, here you go. Let's do
Oh, look,
what is
that's saying it gets the script context.
does this make a difference?
Right, no, like when we do spend, we always have to pass it the datum optional, right? We always have to do that with
Yeah.
spend.
Yeah.
And so now I'm reading the else, and that has a script context. So is the script context always available in else? Can we trace that in our test maybe?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's mess around with this. I mean, and I feel this is good to hang out here. I mean, we're kind of we're down in the car. Use our analogy of the big car and vesting and an owner and a beneficiary and a verification key hash and all that stuff. We are kind of getting down into a little bit of a little thing, but this I'd say let's keep pulling on this thread. I
Side quests.
do have harder. Oh, Lewis, what do you think?
About what?
Are you happy to keep following this thread?
Yeah. I love side quests. No problem.
Okay, we're on the side quest. I do have a hard stop at the 90-minute mark.
But we should
Um,
try and get through
well,
vesting because vesting is like a
oh,
one session validator.
yeah, I feel like we're through it. I mean,
We
it's
didn't get
basically
through the
this.
logic. We
Okay, then
covered the
let's
or
camp out.
and parts, but yeah.
Yeah, let's spend some time here. And now, how we can do this, and I think we're going to stay with because I think that's correct. Before we get down into too much of a side quest, let's and how I want to do this. Let's look at the test. So the test here is we need an output reference, and to be honest, like I don't know exactly what that means.
Hey, and Newman,
Um,
I want like a small clarification. Can you read the or and statement, this main logic part, in just like plain English and just
sure,
explain like the main logic of this validator?
right. There is this basically this function says it looks at the transactions and it's asked for it's this in there. So if this is the data, if the datum owner is in the extra signatories, then it is signed by if this TX is signed by the datum owner, it's going to return true. So and or means at least one of the conditions inside, and we've established that it's in this or block is this part, and if this returns true. So if their owner is there, then this whole block returns true. And
Mhm.
in English, as far as like what the vesting contract is, if the if the if the owner tries to spend, then this validator will allow that.
Do
So
it.
so there's the owner can spend the from the validator anytime. Now there's
Oh.
another thing that's the beneficiary. So if it's not this, if this is false, and then it goes to this statement, the and statement. So all of these conditions must be true. So again, the same key signed with this key signed method with these parameters. If it's the beneficiary, which is from our datum from this, so if we get when we send the transaction and they've got the beneficiary, so if you have this key signed, which is a verification hash, which is a wallet, goes down. But if you have that, and that is, and whoever's sending it is the beneficiary, then that's true. And then there's this other thing, the validity range. And this is another thing that we could dive down into. But it basically says at some point after the original transaction, and that goes with this valid after, um, then oh oh then if this is met, this lock until, so at a certain time, 5 minutes, 5 years, doesn't matter. If these two are true, then you can spin from the script. It's basically says if you're the owner, you can do it regardless. You don't need a time thing. And if you're the beneficiary, then you can do it, but it's got one other check, and that's the datum. So it
Yeah.
checks if you're the owner, and then it checks if you are the beneficiary, and it's after the time thing. So all that
Yeah.
is a way to say that.
Can you explain a little bit about like valid after and how that works, like the data types involved and stuff?
Yep, let's do it. Let's go over to valid after. I've
So
got
the
it.
beneficiary can't touch it until, is it until or after the lock time?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to be
I mean,
right
he can touch
here.
it, the transaction will fail.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go out there and say this is a bad validator
Why is that?
because
Mhm.
it doesn't offer anything that it's claiming to. Meaning, the whole reason that you would put a vesting contract on a blockchain is because you're trying to eliminate trust, or like the need for trust, and like ensure. Like, remember your question, Newman, at the beginning, like, well, what if my company just didn't want to pay me?
Right.
Right. Well, in this contract, they can just they can just take the vesting, right? Like, they could put some value there and say, you can't get this for 3 years, but at any moment, the owner could just take it back.
Yeah.
So
if we remove the owner, I think it'll be pretty much just the beneficiary, and which is fine, I think.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. And it's just an example. I'm just, just looking at it from one angle of like, if we were to try to use this in production, like, it's actually not really a good thing. Like, it doesn't solve any issues.
Yeah, it's a centralized validator.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. So for it to be valid, not valid. I mean, yeah, valid. The owner has to be removed for it to make sense. The vesting contract to make sense.
No, right now, the owner, so basically what we are saying with the validator is there's a UTXO locked in that specific validator address. The owner, which is like the company at this point, can put money and take money anytime it wants. Actually, like anyone can put money, but only the owner can take money anytime they want. But the beneficiary can take the money only if the specific time has been reached. So we are losing the point here, which is the owner is basically controlling it whenever they want. They can actually put a UTXO in there and say, hey, we put like this UTXO that you can take after a specific time, and even before the time is reached, they can just like take that UTXO and be like, too bad, you took.
That's what I was trying.
So I'm tracking down this validity range.
Yeah.
And oh man, the docs are so okay. So validity range is in the transaction. And here's the validity range. These docs, it really does take like some understanding to run it. And
but this is isn't this a cocktail function?
No, validity range is just a Aiken function.
Well,
valid after?
Yes.
Oh, valid
after is a
that's what we're using
cocktail.
Investing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Inside of valid after is
it takes a validity range.
Takes a validity range.
But that comes from TX.
Yes.
And basically, the way I think of anything that comes from TX is I kind of just accept it. It is what it is. Like, it's a TX thing. So like TX.extra signatories, cool. TX.inputs, cool. And so when I see TX.validity range, I just read that's the time that comes from the TX, just like the inputs come from the TX and the outputs come from the TX. I just get the time. That's how I understand it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
also I think it's important to understand the data structure, because some are
Oh, yeah.
pairs, some are less as in arrays. So just to work with them, I think it's a good idea to see the type.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, so here, so if we go up, so here's transaction, and that is, I just lost the thread. Okay, here, yeah. Here's the transaction. So inside of transaction, you get datum, input, output ref, redeemer, script purpose. No, fuck. No, this is it right here. This is what we're talking about. What the fuck is the other thing? Yeah. Anyway,
No, this is it. Yeah.
yeah, this is the right one. So inside, and this is like the placeholder transaction or something. But anyway, here,
No, that
what
is the
we're doing with
transaction
this,
object.
Yeah. That's our TX.
right. This is the object, and and there's a, yeah. So, but what we're working with is this validity range, which actually is also the
Type.
type. There's a type of validity range, and then these extra signatories. That is another thing that we're working with the establishing the owner or the beneficiary.
But Harsha wants to look at the
This,
validity range type.
yeah. So we, um, that'd
So
be
can we
great
search
if it
for
was
validity
there.
range?
I guess we just search for it. Um,
Just put it into the search bar.
Or it's there in the types object.
I put it
There
right
you go.
here.
There
It's
you
right
go.
here.
First one.
Ah, yeah. Okay. So it's an interval of POSIX time measured in number of milliseconds. Okay.
Okay, so now let's
So
look at interval, right?
yeah, interval is another
Yeah,
type.
let's look at it.
Yeah, we always got to follow the types like all the
Yeah.
way down.
Yeah.
And then it's normally a hash or a byte array.
First one.
So these are
So
of the
yeah.
same
No,
thing,
no.
but
The
check it
first one
out.
is the
Like,
type. First one
See
is
how
the
it's
type.
capital?
Capital, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big that you got to pay attention to those because they when it's capital, it's a type.
Okay.
When it's lowercase, it's the function.
Let's just okay.
A type to represent intervals of values.
Clock is function.
Interval are inhabited by a type A, which is useful for non-infinite intervals that have a finite lower bound and or upper bound.
Wait a minute, where are you reading?
Yeah,
Okay,
just
right
the
here.
first,
Yeah, useful. Finite.
Time could be more of a complex topic, guys.
True.
Yeah,
If we
but
right,
Unfortunately. Oh, okay. So here's interval. In a UTXO-based blockchain like Cardano, the management of time can be finicky. Look, it says it right there. Okay, indeed, who wrote this? In order to maintain a complete determinism in the execution of scripts, it is impossible to introduce a notion of current time, since the execution would then depend on factors that are external to the transaction itself. The in oh my God, stream of time flowing in our universe. What? I'm copying that. Okay, that's where am I going to
dude,
put that?
that's
Where am I
so
going to put
good.
that? That is, we're just going to put that up
You can
here.
go on our
Just
website, man. That can be our
that.
tagline.
That's our tagline, man. There we go.
the
Man, do you know
ineluctable.
what the shit is
Yeah.
What
that?
does that
Can
even mean,
somebody
man?
search that and find out what that means? But anyway,
Let me
hence
ask
to work
ChatGPT.
around this inelucutable to a stream of time flowing in our universe. To work around that, we typically define a time interval, which gives a window, aka intervals. Of course, we're going to use the same word that means so many different freaking things. But anyway, a time window. How about just calling it time window, within which the transaction can be executed? From within a script, it isn't possible to know exactly when exactly know when exactly the script is executed, but when we can reason about the interval bounds to validate pieces of logic.
So
So
unavoidable, that's what it says.
unavoidable is
Unavoidable, inescapable, or certain to happen.
okay, it's certain. Time is certain. Okay.
Death is ineluctable.
Death is inflexible. Uh, okay. Okay. I wonder if we're pronouncing it correctly.
That doesn't matter. We'll pronounce
Oh,
it
It
like we
doesn't matter.
want.
That's definitely a whole. Okay, but the interval, like, help me understand because
yeah, we are actually.
Yeah.
interval.
So
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 I want to see a thing like this for interval. Like it's a type, right? So I want to see like what fields does it have?
I
Yeah.
recently like looked at it. So go to the interval, like the code for the interval, like right here.
All right. Yeah. Oh, they've got it up here too. Pretty funny. Okay. Why is this not? Oh, that's it. That's what I wanted to see. Why in the balls do they not have that in the right here? Right.
I'm gonna remake the docs. I'm gonna say it right now, so you guys make me do it. We need to just ingest all of the open source data and then find a format that gets us where we want. Because I've always had this problem with the Aiken docs. It's like I know like they're smarter than I am, by tenfold.
Yeah,
But the
that's
way
what it
that they've
is.
laid this out is always been difficult for me to navigate it. So
Yeah. That's what I want to see. But that's a good call, Harsha. And yes, we are going to hold you on. The datum dawns is that once we start looking at the the neighborhood, then we're going to start taking over the damn neighborhood. It's like we run this show now.
We ran this
Okay,
guy.
yeah, that's right. So you walk in, like, hey, you need to somebody's going to come and have to wash these windows for you. Um, you know, uh, so. This is what I want to see. So, but it goes down a little further, so it has a field of lower bound, but inside of that is an interval bound, which see, because they are smart, and so it's right underneath it. It's just fuck, no, it's
So
not. No,
interval
no, here it is,
bound
right here.
is
No, this is it. Interval bound.
yeah, so the interval
That's what I was
bound is
looking
also
for.
defined on top. So interval
Oh,
bound
where?
type, right above, like the code block.
Ah,
Interval
here, right here.
bound is is a type where
Has
bound
a
type
finite.
is okay. So the lower bound type is finite and the upper bound type is finite.
What?
Oh, so interval bound is basically a type which has two fields, which is the bound type, and bound type can
Yep.
either be finite or it can be infinite. It can be negative infinite or positive infinite.
Where are
Um,
you reading that? Oh, down
oh, the
here.
bottom,
Okay.
yeah.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. So now I get it because you're right. It's not wrong. It's just not fitting what we are. And I'm sorry when we're not, we're friendly mafia people. Okay, here we go. So basically what this is saying is like, I want to set an interval between 1 and 10, right?
Uh-huh.
So here I'm setting, I'm setting it to finite and finite. But here's another one. It's just like I want it to run until infinity. So I want it to start at 20 and go until infinity. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes. So that means
Okay.
the transaction has to pass after 20, whatever the 20 means. But
Yeah.
then once it has passed the 20, it will pass throughout for
Right.
infinity.
what's
Right. And
inclusive?
now, so let's,
Inclusive is the 20 itself. Like
right,
not
right.
21, but 20 itself. If you hit 20, then the
Okay.
transaction will pass.
Yeah. So in order to, and thank you for that, like flight of fancy. That was fun because it is frustrating but it is, it's just, that's what coding is. Uh, I can remember like documentation from like way back and it was worse then. So but if we were to go back here And lock until is an int. And
Right, is
then
that our
down
upper or
here,
our lower bounds? Because we use valid after
So it is
and
the
we get
lower
the
bound.
whole range, I
Lower
bet
bound.
valid after is gonna
Be the lower bound.
be the upper bound.
this
No,
will,
I think it is the lower bound because anything valid after is a lower bound. Anything valid before is the upper bound.
Let's
wait a minute,
see.
wait a minute. I have to find this. I think it's right.
This would be a
No,
cocktail,
here.
vodka.
Valid after
And then look at the
required
source.
timestamp. Look
What
at
do
the
you
source
say?
here. Yeah. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Check the validation. Is valid after transaction.validity range. Well, let me just try to work this
I
out
think
for
the
myself. Hold on
Aiken
for a
thing
second.
will like tell us better.
Well,
We gotta know what the function's doing.
okay.
I'll look it up.
Hey, no, I got you. I got you. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Look at it. It's right here. Interval bound type, and is conclusive. So here's our interval bound.
Yeah, from the lower range. Validity range dot lower bound.
Yeah.
Like Harsha said. When bound type is inclusive, finite lower bound, true, lower bound. Yeah, so it's all lower bounds.
Interesting.
So yeah,
So
it's just so confusing to me
can
how
I
it
can I
works.
give like a regular example?
Yeah. Let's
So
sketch it.
say
Yeah.
the lower bound is 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. UTC. I'm just giving like regular time, and the upper bound is 11 a.m. UTC, right? So
Okay,
what they are saying is the transaction will pass only if it is between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m.
you're right. Valid after the
Okay.
beginning. It's like it's started. The range has been started.
Exactly. So if only the lower bound is specified, any transaction before 10 a.m. will fail. Any
Mhm.
transaction after 10 a.m. will pass. Similarly, if we only have upper bound, any transaction after 11 a.m. will fail. Any transaction before 11 a.m. will pass. And if you want it to be inclusive, that means exactly at 10 a.m. Lower bound, it will pass. And if
Mhm.
you have inclusive in the upper bound, exactly at 11 a.m., even if the transaction goes through, it'll pass. Make
And
Yeah.
sense?
how would you pass is inclusive to this function?
Now, that is
Oh,
a good
okay.
question that I don't know.
Let's see. Hold
Because
on.
it
Wait a
looks
minute.
like
Because
it's
it's
being extracted or destructured from the validity range.
Oh, I think they are saying is inclusive is already added. They are already calling it is included. If you look at the function definition, they're already
It's
using
already
is
there.
using
It's like part
inclusive.
of the validity range,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. See, is they already said is inclusive.
Yeah.
Or yeah. So
So that value, because it's the validity range, right? We looked at this, it has the type that includes that. So the validity range that gets passed to this valid after has already been defined as is inclusive or not is inclusive. So I guess where would you set that? Like if we wanted to change it?
yeah, I don't know. Okay. Where would you set the
well,
is
you would.
inclusive part? Yeah, I don't know.
So basically, what we're saying is that this how valid after is always inclusive, and we were trying.
No, no,
Now
no.
the question is,
Is
yeah,
inclusive is the bool, so we don't know where it is
right, but
exactly defined. Yeah. And they're also saying,
oh man, I'm just totally lost in all my stuff. But uh, I wish I could click on that and get to validity range. Um, okay. Oh, it's right here. No, it's not right there. Oh, okay. It's in the interval part, this inclusive. Uh, the uh, the certain flow of time. Uh, and gentlemen, I gotta. I have to be away.